Hey there, and welcome back to We Don't Do Boring, Andy's podcast. My name's Andy Hancock, and this is my spot on the little blue and green dot. Yes. So, what are we talking about today? Well, my show is about experience, time, money, balance, compromise, and communication. That's the most important part of it. That's why I do it. And what we're talking about today is somebody recently asked me about events. And I've had a bit of event experience, not much. I've been around a lot of events, not big stuff. We're not talking about rock concerts. We're talking about locally organised events and things for cities and maybe parks. Stuff like that. So I've seen how things are organised, and I'm old, so I've been around a long time. So I've got a lot of experience, both with running something totally for myself and running, being part of a bigger event. Even being one of the main people, promoted at that event, and also just being there to support other people. So I've seen a lot of different things. But an event, when you first think of it, you think, oh, wow, and you've had a great idea for ages, and you may have messed around with bits of it at other people's events and tried it out in front of people, and it actually works, and you think, I should have an event, I could do this, whether it's for, the first thing is, what are you doing it for? You're down to good old how, where, why, what and when, And did I say that right? Yes, how, where, why, what and when. So, but if you've got just an idea and you think this would make a great event and I could get people to come, you might even think you can get them to pay to come, which is fantastic. But most of the time it's just self-promotion. If you've got to promote a product or a venue, or something you're working on, it's just for yourself. So the first thing is, I just wanted to try and get some simple order to this, because before you waste any of your time and money talking to people who say they can promote your event and everything's going to be fantastic, and of course you've got to have it in here. You've got to have a heart full of enthusiasm for what you're doing. You really got to believe it. If you just think it might be a good idea, yeah, you need real passion behind an event to actually make it really work. You need to be passionate about what you're doing, and be able to convey that passion to others. That's the big thing, and it depends what you're going to do, But so the first thing is, before you do any of this stuff, you've got bits hanging around, you've written it down. But before you do anything, where are you going to hold this thing? Where's the venue? The venue is the make or break deal in any event. Doesn't matter what you're doing, okay? So it depends what you're doing. Yes, it depends what you're doing, because if you get the wrong venue, that will sink it, literally, and it just won't help your event at all, and you'll get very down about it, and you'll think, oh wow, what did I? That's a bad mistake. So you have to think about your venue very carefully, and also the venue then determines the date. Okay, oh no, I'm going to hold this in the summer because I'm selling beach toys. I sell Sandcastle toolkits, so I know a bit about that. And not that many people buy them in the summer when they're on vacation. They usually buy them in the winter. Yeah, funny thing, eh? So it's the venue will determine the date, but then you've got to think about what you're doing. Are you just supporting somebody? With maybe doing something for charity? Are you selling something of your own, selling a product, working for somebody else, running the event for them, as it were? Or are you just promoting? Is it self-promotion? Is it a sort of a raising awareness event? So the date and the venue are very, closely linked to what you want to do in whether you're supporting, selling, or promoting. So if you're promoting something which is going to come out next week, well, there's no good holding the event a week before it, because unless it's totally local and you're focused on that point all the time, it's going to be worthless. You won't have enough time. So you have to secure the event venue first. If you're promoting something for a bar, well, outside a bar would be great, or at the bar would be fabulous, so the bar could give you some support, whatever. But if you know what I mean, if you're raising money for charity and you need a concentration of people who are all like-minded, well, your venue should be near to where the like-minded people are. So it's just a bit of thought, but the venue is very important. The venue sets the date, and then the date will be led by what you're doing, really. If you're going to hold it in a park, you're not going to do it in the middle of winter. But also, if you're going to hold it on a beach where it's all sunny, yay, right? who are you pitching it to? Because you're not pitching it to tourists. If you're going to promote something at your beach for you or for the local area or a local business, the tourists won't be interested. They will if there's something free, but other than that. So that's not the right time to do it. Or not the right place even. So there you go. So the first thing is the venue, and that will dictate the date and how you pitch what you're trying to do. Because we're leading up to a pitch, all right? So the only way to get a venue is to go and communicate. Funny thing that. You have to go and talk to venues and find out whether they're going to charge you money, whether they're happy for you to be there, whether it's part of their business model, whether they want you even want you there. Even though you might have a great product which is linked directly to them, it doesn't matter if they, are they enthusiastic? Do they charge you money? There's a lot you've got to go through, and also they have dates when they're busy, so they're going to tell you those. So that may well curtail you using that venue. So even if it's an open venue and you think you can do it on your own, that's a very different thing too. Because on to number 2, establishing friendships and support. So even if you have a venue, might be owned by a friend, you might have sorted it out already, you might have already talked to a venue owner and think, yep, I've got this. You've got to establish friendships and support. And how do you do that? Oh, that would be communication again. Funny thing. So, and this is all to stop you wasting time and money. Believe me, if you do this first, you won't waste a lot of time. Because I've wasted a lot of time on events, I can tell you. And it is mind-numbingly stupid how some things work, but you don't find out until you do it, and that's why I'm passing it on to you. So establishing friendships and support. If you have friends and supporters already, ask them what they think. Just communicate. Say, look, I'm thinking of holding an event. What do you think? Well, what are you going to do? Well, as I said before, based on your friendships and, people who want to support you, are you supporting them? Are you selling for them or for yourself? Are you promoting them or yourself or a product? So establishing the friendships and the support you're going to need to run any sort of event is based on a two-way street. It's what you want to do, but also what are they going to get out of it? If you want support from somebody, they better be getting something out of it, So it's all about partnership, and partnership does not happen without communication. It's just one of the things. And no matter how shy or frightened you are, you just have to go and open your mouth, right? Also, you have to ignore pieces of advice like if you're going to deal with a big company who have got a presence at this venue and you think, well, and people are saying, they'll never talk to you. Wrong. Unless you ask, the answer is always no. But you go, and it doesn't matter how nervous you are. If you're nervous, raise your voice artificially, and your nerves, when you're in a conversation, will disappear. I know it's a weird thing. I was taught that many years ago, and it absolutely works perfectly. So, just raise your voice. Nobody's going to tell you you're shouting. It's really funny, but it works, yeah. Anyway, so you have to go and talk to the people, and it doesn't matter how big they are. I don't care if it's an airline, or a rock venue, or a superstar. If you can't get to superstars, but you know what I mean. If it's a much, much, much bigger company than you, and it's just you think they won't talk to you, that's wrong. Big companies function on communication. They have to. So the trick to the big companies is finding the right person to talk to, and that's the kicker. That takes some doing sometimes, especially to break down corporate stuff and find somebody in that company who can help you find the right person. So, but don't ever take the advice that they'll never talk to you because it's just you, little old you, and they won't be interested. Until you ask, the answer's always no. Okay, and why do you want to establish friendships? Well, you do have the possibility of partnership, that's obviously, and also you have the possibility of sharing the costs and giving your startup a boost. If you're using a big venue and you go and talk to the venue owner and he says, wow, well actually last week somebody came and asked me about doing this. Would you do that at the same time as your event? And you think, never even thought of it. That's because you asked the question and that man had already been asked by somebody else to do something, and there's a possibility of doing a 2-for-1, and that means the partnership and the costs and everything else could be shared. So that's a great way of doing things, and it might be a completely unrelated thing to you. That works really well sometimes, It's bizarre because you think, well, I'm not going to team up with a dog collar owner or something, or somebody promoting left-handed wheels on golf carts. Why not? A lot of people play golf. You don't know what else they do. Never assume that one person always does one thing because they're Formula One fanatics, right? That they don't play golf, or they're Formula One fanatics and they couldn't possibly cook. Right? You can't do that. You do not assume. All right. So, but it could give your startup a boost to an unknown audience, which is another great thing. You don't know you know who your audience are, but how do you know whether there's another audience within another audience? I know that sounds a bit crazy, but I've had people turn up and say, "Well, I didn't come to see you. I came to work over there." And then I saw one of your sculptures, and I thought, "Wow, who did that?" Because I collect art. Yet they went to an event which was next door. So anyway, my point is, unless you ask and go and talk to people about the venue and about your event and what you're trying to do, the possibilities of partnership will never appear, because the answer's always no if you don't ask the question. So there you go. But one of the other things that people don't do and they don't have ready, you may walk, and I've actually done this, and I was taught a big old lesson. I happened to walk in and see somebody one day and promote something, tell them about an event I wanted to run, and they said, "Wow, your timing is fantastic." And I said, "Really?" And they went, "Oh yes, we want to run something here. Have you got your proposal with you?" No. I was waiting to talk to you first. "Oh, well, but you know what you're doing, right?" Yes, I've got an idea, but I need a venue." "Well, you got a venue, so can you send me a proposal? Because we're ready to go. We want to run an event. We already know who you are, but what do you want to do? So I need a bullet point proposal, and I need it on my desk in 24 hours. So you better have your proposal outlined concisely. Now, we're not talking about in detail. Let me give you a little example. I don't even know whether he's going to be listening to this, but a great friend of mine who was a person who funded me for many years and worked for a large utility company. He asked me for a proposal for sculptures to put in a park, well, to actually form a sculpture park. And I said, right. So I saw it as this big opportunity. So I wrote him a 26-page proposal. And I sent it to him, and he called me the next day and said, "Andy, can you come and meet me?" And because he just happened to be in the area, I said, "Yeah, sure." And he got out of the car, and we had a coffee, and he said, "Your proposal is amazing." He said, "I actually read it. It's very long, isn't it?" I said, "Right, yeah." He said, "I need it on one side of paper. Okay? So get it on one side of paper. I need it by tomorrow morning." I said, "What?" He said, "Well, we don't need all the details. We just need the concepts. Just explain the concepts to me. I don't want the details." And he said, "Do you know what an elevator pitch is?" And this was a long time ago. And I said, "No, there wasn't a lot of elevators where I lived by the forest." So I said, "No." And he said, "I'm on the 4th floor, and my boss and the boardroom is on the 10th floor. So in the time it takes the elevator to get from the 4th floor to the 10th floor, I need to have read your one-sided paper, and then I will walk into that room and I will pitch it to my boss. And depends on what's on that paper, and then how I interpret that and give it to my boss is whether you're going to get any money or not." I said, "Okay. How do I put 26 pages into one side, Jeff?" And he said, "You can figure that out." And I was up most of the night trying to figure out how to put that down concisely, or to give the main points that would get me that money. And I did it. And he said, "That's not a bad go." And when I gave it to him, I thought, "Well, not a bad go." I said, "Yeah." Anyway, he went upstairs and he sold it for me, which was fantastic. So I did get my money because they wanted a partnership, but he didn't need a proposal that was 200 miles long. He needed one where you could say, right, yes, we want to run it in the winter because we're selling beach toys. We need your venue that's by the lake with the beach so we can promote the how clean the thing is and how environmentally friendly it is. We want to run it in partnership with your other division, and we want, and boom, 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 boom. How, where, what, when, why. And put that on a piece of paper. It needs to be on one side, okay? But it needs to be concise. The way you describe each point needs to be concise, but not with details of the rest of it. You just put the heading, It's just a pitch, and then write all that down, and then stand in your kitchen and read it back to yourself loudly. Not in your head. Read it to yourself and see if it makes any sense at all. But then there's an even bigger test. Okay, there's an even bigger test, which is very, very simple. And you take that piece of paper, like this one. Look, this piece of paper, and then you write it all down, and you give it to a friend who's sitting in front of you. And say, can I have 5 minutes of your time for something? And they'll say, yeah, sure, of course you can. Can you just sit down for a few minutes and read that and tell me what you think of it? What is it? Well, it's a proposal, but I just want you to read it and then give me your view on whether you think that even makes sense. I know you know me, but it's about an event, so would you read that and tell me whether it makes any sense? And people will give you an honest opinion, which is great because they want to help you. And so, yes, they'll be able to spot flaws in it straight away. They'll say, okay, I get the first two things, that's great, but what does this mean? I don't understand that. Because they know you and they know how you talk and everything else, but they won't understand a question or whatever. And it helps you to reform that question so a bystander or an onlooker or somebody you've never met in a company will be able to understand it too. So it's a very, very important part of that. So so what do you do first? I've just said you have to do the venue. And then I said you had to make friends and find support. And then I said you had to write a proposal because it better be ready if the man at the venue says, fantastic, we want to do that. That's great. Can you help us? Wow, that's awesome. Where's your proposal? Well, you do have to you've got to do it all together. While you're on the phone searching for the people in the companies who can, for support or possible information on where they can do it, for the venue or for the companies you want to promote or for your friends to help you or for setup help. If it's a city, they might have an event department which will help you. And also permitting and all the other things if you're going to do this in public. While you're doing all that, you do have to be writing your proposal and refining it. So if you're rewriting that and refining it, and then once you've established the contacts you need to go and see, the venue, the people, the companies, then you take your proposal, which you've already written and tested on your friends, and then you go out and start talking to people. And if you think you're going to do this on the phone, you're not. If you think this, I'm not a fan of Zoom meetings. I have to say, I wasn't in that world. When the pandemic happened, I was outside. I went to work outside. I didn't get involved. Well, I work outside. I don't need Zoom, so I never got used to that. But I found it very difficult to use and not personal enough. Talking to a wall or somebody behind an emoji. I don't know. I just didn't want to do that. So I'm a grumpy old guy, I know, and I should be up with technology, but I don't see the point. If I can get in my car and go and see the person, it's much better for me, but it's whether the people want to do that as well. And that tells me a bit about the partner too. If they want to meet face to face and they want to see you at the venue, that's a very important step for me. They say, yes, can you meet me where you want to do this and tell me all about it? That's a big first step because they're already thinking ahead. They already want to know who you are, what you look like, how you act. And it's more of a personal communication thing, and that's what builds a really great event. Events don't happen over Zoom. Events happen in real life. So there you go. So that's it, events. So a venue, friendship, support, and also proposals, and they all begin with the communication. They will save you time and money, all right? You may have to compromise, but if it's your event, why should you? If you want to stick to your guns and do the things the way you want to do them, well, that leads other things, where the venue is and all this sort of thing. So you may have to compromise. It's a balance. It is a balance. I know somebody who's trying to get into an event which is happening very quickly, and I've already said I would be surprised if you can do it this year. I would plan for next year and really give yourself a nice long lead in. But if they find the support, they could go this year and do something on a much smaller scale just to get themselves in the door for next year, and then they can say, well, I was there this year, but I want to make it bigger. So you need to do all that, but it happens with communication, and I will just say that the most important thing is when people say, oh, they'll never talk to you, that's wrong. You need to just take a deep breath, calm, and walk through the door and talk to somebody. And the other thing is, unless you ask a question, the answer is always no. And that is a fact. Okay, it should be written in the laws of physics, really, but anyway, it's definitely written in the laws of communication. Excuse me. So there you go. And remember, all creation begins with destruction. So you might have to rip a few of those proposals up before you get it nice. And then, and we don't do boring, all right? That's why I'm trying to help you. My name's Andy Hancock. Remember to subscribe and press the notification bell and do all that stuff, and pass the video on to your friends if you know somebody needs some help. And if you've got a subject you want me to talk about, I'll give it a go, right? If I know about it, I will talk about it. If I don't know about it, I will tell you, okay? So no problem at all. All right, well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Bye.